The organization called Mama's Alliance will host its second Share conference. This is the biggest gathering of NGOs in South Africa, where all NGOs are brought together to engage and share their experiences.
While the organization provides structural and practical daily care for the most vulnerable and needy children. For more on this, Mama's Alliance Managing Director Yumna Toefy joins us now for the conversation. Yumna, thank you so much for your time this morning. I think a lot of attention sometimes does not get cast on how NGOs actually play a significant role in ensuring that kids are given the holistic aftercare treatment, the holistic care, where sometimes the education sector falls short. Then you've got NGOs stepping in to assist and supplement even with the education, even including the feeding offering of kids in South Africa. But you live in a reality where I'm sure resources are something that you always stress, and the lack thereof in many instances.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having us. Absolutely, I think you hit it spot on that, unfortunately, or fortunately, I say, our NGOs are the ecosystem of support for our mothers and our children in our communities. And education, as we know, is a key element that we need to start focusing on. And our 36 NGOs that we focuses on education of our children, which leads from early childhood development right through to high school, doing career support, and then breaking that cycle of poverty where they actually have a dream, have an opportunity, and creating those opportunities for them. And our Share conference provides that platform where all our NGOs come together and we discuss the challenges that they're currently dealing with, looking at how we can further assist them as Kinderfonds Mamas and Mama's Alliance.
Yumna, do you find that there may never come a time where there won't be a need for a Mama's Alliance and all of these other NGOs to assist? I would imagine it's assisting the education department. Do you feel that we will get to a point where the education department will not need you?
Deep down, I think it's my dream that would be, but I also believe that NGOs are the startup engines in any community. I think we refer to our NGO leaders as the mamas and the papas in our communities, creating that support for our children hands-on, that they have the safety net, because the reality is that our children do not have that currently at home. So these NGOs provide an opportunity for kids to create their safe little havens where they know they are fully supported by our mamas and our papas. So I really do hope that would be the dream. But right now, I think our NGOs play a crucial element of the development of our children and women.
Yeah. It certainly has been a growth in terms of mamas. I mean, I think that you guys have been running even since 2012 when you saw the conference actually, come into fruition. And since then, I'm sure there are different, realities that have been tabled, especially when it comes to some of those challenges that are faced within the home front. Just talk to us a little bit about some of the realities that a lot of the families are living with. We can speak about it from a very academic, sometimes from a very removed kind of perspective. But you guys as NGOs are right there on the ground with the lived experience of many South Africans. Just talk us through some of the realities that these kids and these parents have to deal with every day.
Yeah, I think the huge reality in our community is that there is no food. I think what we find is that at post-COVID and even during COVID, that has always been an issue: hunger, malnutrition with our children. And that's a key issue that, of course, we have to deal with. It's part of all of our NGOs that we actually have a feeding scheme system. We also have a food gardening project that we run at all our NGOs that can create some sort of sustainability for our communities. And then, of course, the reality of that these kids do not have a safe home. Our communities are gang-ridden. There's poverty that's happening, unemployment that's happening in our communities. And these NGOs provide that safe section for the children to actually just embrace their own development. We know that development is hindered and it doesn't really happen as normal when there isn't a supportive system happening right now. And for us, it's about creating that ecosystem of support and holistically looking at the development of our children and women. And unfortunately, that's the realities that we are facing right now as a country as a whole.
Yumna, one of the realities we're also facing, which is, I know it's termed as an epidemic, but I usually preferred to term it as a pandemic because it is that bad. And I'm speaking of gender-based violence and femicide. How far in do you deal with that as an NGO? There's only so much you can do, but as Faith had said, you guys are on the ground and you are dealing with these realities face on. You're not dealing with it from an academic and removed point of view. So when it comes to GBVF, how much do you guys deal with it? How much can you deal with it?
Many of our NGOs deal with it hands-on, so we have quite a few that deals with rape on a daily basis, that specialize in the actual treatment of it and providing that support for our girls, for our boys. The reality is that GBV is such a high topic on the agenda. It's happening all around. I don't think any NGO right now is dealing with it in isolation, so they either deal with it directly as an NGO that we support, or they do have a very good referral system and working with the networks within their community. So being in contact with SAPs, with other NGOs that specialize in GBV cases. It is absolutely it's on the rise. It is a reality. It's a huge reality within South Africa.
And oftentimes, what we understand is that a lot of NGOs that are doing their bit to give back to society, that are building better communities, Yumna, you risk suffering from compassion deficit. And just simply because you are depleting yourself through giving all the time, through being able to resource all yourselves all the time. And that could actually, lead to you guys feeling, you know what, nobody's actually hearing our plight and actually, standing up for us in this case. How then do we start championing the cause for more private sector engagement, intervention, involvement in even financing, and more public sector? I was reading somewhere that public sector, for example, gives about 47 Rand a day to some NGOs for living and making sure that these women that they take care of are actually, taken care of. How do you just, more public and private sector participation, how do you advocate for that?
Absolutely. So at our Mamas Alliance office, predominantly in the Johannesburg office, we actually provide a very unique service in terms of our funding, where we activate companies and corporates and funders, public sector, to come on board to support these NGOs. So we have, in our team, we have CSI consultants, and they provide a free service to our donors. So they'll facilitate the process, connect you to the correct NGO, and we will then make that connection. We do site visits. We actually look at how they could invest further into our NGOs and walk the journey with them. This is extremely important because at the moment, I think the reality is many of our CSI partners or our funders, they don't know where to go with their money right now. And so we play that role for them, facilitating the process for them. And I think it's really unique because it's free service that we do offer, because we believe that they're part of creating the change. As a country, we all need to work together and take responsibility for our role within the sector to create the positive change that we do want to see.
I think I speak on behalf of a lot of South Africans when I say that your work is much appreciated and that we could very much do with a lot more organizations such as Mamas Alliance. But we'll leave it there with you. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Yumna. That is
Thank you very much.
Mamas Alliance Managing Director, Yumna Toefy.